Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I hope I am audible. I've got my fancy mic set up and everything going here. Okay. So no one's here yet. I will wait a second and then I will start talking. Hope everyone's doing nice tonight. Hope everyone enjoyed how absolutely bonkers the trade deadline was, because it was bonkers. I guess maybe 5 p.m. or so wasn't the best time to do this, because I guess all the established people already have shows that they do at 5 p.m. So, so I don't do this very often. I like writing better. Still, let's get to some analysis, because even for the one person here, I'm not just going to have you sit there for 5 minutes and hang out and wait. They can always just rewind it and see what I've been talking about for the last minute, which is nothing, so it works out nicely. Please let me know if you can or can't hear me as well. It looks like my microphone is working, but you can never be too sure. Okay, so I'm going to go through every game and talk about it's basically the way I do my written analysis. I will look at every pitcher or stack and tell you how much I like them, how much I like the pitcher or the stack, and how chalky I believe they will be. So the first game is I'm going to go by DraftKings order. So I'm going to start, if you open up your DraftKings slate, I'm going to go left to right and then just keep on going until we get to game 15. Hopefully it'll take 45 minutes to an hour, maybe less, depending on how y'all do. So, okay, let's get going. Game 1, Cubs and Nationals. The two teams that basically decided they don't care about playing baseball competitively anymore, or having a roster of people that do things. So as of right now, we don't really know who's pitching for either team. So this is kind of a pass. Not that, I'm liking a lot here. Washington, obviously, a lot more because they still have Juan Soto and Josh Bell, and those guys can mash it. But, I mean, if you look at Washington's projected lineup that I have today, it has Luis V. Garcia batting 5th and Carter Kieboom batting 4th, and that's just terrible. I mean, that's just terrible. So no matter who the Cubs throw out there, I assume it'll be a bullpen game for both. Both, just everything is terrible in this game. The only person I would have a little bit of interest in is Josh Bell, because is Juan Soto, because he's 6,100. I was looking at the name Josh Bell. But the only reason I don't have a ton of interest is because, again, he's 6,100, and I'd rather spend up on some other dudes. Absolutely. My name is not Harvey, though, but thank you very much. Hello, this is my face. I got a haircut recently because of COVID. I got vaccinated, and my beard grew back since I got that haircut. I shaved and got a haircut the same day, and now they're like both the same. That's all right, Dynasty Dads. My name is Bathrobe. Well, my name is Paul, but you can call me Bathrobe because that's what I go by for the purposes of doing fantasy analysis. So let's move on. So game 1, not so good. Game 2 is Philly and Pittsburgh, and this game I really like the bats in, not particularly anything else. The Phillies are starting Vince Velasquez, and if you read my analysis yesterday, you know how terrible Velasquez was. I was all on a Nationals stack. Was it your Nationals yesterday? Yeah, because it was Scherzer. I was all on a Nationals stack yesterday before Philly decided they were going to start Zach Wheeler instead, and that Velasquez wasn't even going to start game 2. Velasquez is starting today. So this makes Pittsburgh completely viable, especially the lefties. Velasquez is not good against righties, don't get me wrong, but he's been absolutely terrible against lefties the last few years. So as of right now, again, this isn't confirmed. I figured by 5 o'clock, even with the trade deadline, most of these lineups would be in. So we'll have to see, and I can go back to it worst comes to worst. But as of right now, I have Ben Gamel, Brian Reynolds, Gregory Polanco, and Rodolfo Castro, all of whom are capable of hitting lefty, and all of whom should be strongly considered as part of a stack for you to play tonight. Vince Velasquez really is that bad. There are a lot of really bad pitchers going today, but Pittsburgh has the added bonus of being cheap. So if you want to start some expensive pitchers, you can, and being unowned because I wouldn't say they're the worst offense in baseball, but they score the fewest runs in baseball, and a lot of people are going to equate one with the other. So a lot of people are going to be off of. Oh, someone got scratched from Kansas City. I'll get to that when I get to that. So Pittsburgh is going to be one of my favorite stacks tonight because you're going to be able to get them cheap and at low ownership. And Velasquez really is that bad. I wouldn't be shocked if Pittsburgh drops, 7, 8, 9 runs. It's not like the Phillies bullpen is anything to write home about. So Pittsburgh, really, really like them today. The 4.2 projected run total, I think, is just far too low. And on the other side, for Pittsburgh, I have Will Crow going, and he's also terrible. His last start against San Francisco was great. Let's get that out of the way. He went more than 5 innings, got you 90 pitches for the third time in his last 4 starts, struck out 9 in the 5.1 innings against San Francisco, which is pretty good, and got you 27 DKP, but that is absolutely an aberration. If you look at every other start he's had this season, he has a 4 or the last 10 even, 4.6, 9.7, 4.7, 6.9, -7, -5.2. He had 1 start at 14, 1 at 21, and 1 at 27, and the others are pretty low single digits, if not negative. And this is a Phillies lineup that, a lot of these guys have been pretty hot lately. I know they're without Rhys Hoskins, which is not great. The confirmed lineup has Brad Miller batting second, but he should be able to tee off against a weak righty in Will Crow. The one thing I want to check out that I did not look at yet is Will Crow's splits so far this season, because that is going to matter. I'm one of the people who very, very strongly believes in playing splits if you can, because people are weak against certain people and strong against certain people. And if you know who they're weak against and who they're strong against, why not use that to your advantage? I don't feel like enough people do. They just assume righty versus lefty and vice versa. But there are some people who aren't that way. And, some people who are extremely bad. So let's look at this right here. This is exactly my point. Will Crow so far this season he's a righty pitcher. So remember, he's a righty pitcher. Against righties, the batting average against 322, against lefties 223, almost 110th difference or 100-point difference between the two. On base percentage, 381 to righties, 338 to lefties. Slugging percentage, 596 to righties, 420 to lefties, which translates to an OPS to righties of 977 and to lefties of 758. Now, 758 isn't bad. It's not great. I would like it to be over 800 to really set the alarm bells off. But though that 977 is just absolutely fantastic. So even though Brad Miller's batting second and Bryce Harper's batting third, if you're going to play a Philly stack, it might be smart to start with Real Muto, who's leading off and is a righty, obviously. McCutchen, who's been hot. Alec Boehm batting fifth is a righty. 4,100, a lot of people are not going to pay for him. And then Ronald Torres is only 3,000, has dual position eligibility, third base and shortstop. And he also has been doing pretty damn well lately. If you look at, I have it set to 14 days. Give me 1 second here. I got to switch it to the last week. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Over the last, he's gotten cooled off the last couple of days. Never mind. Let's forego that. Still, he's a righty in the lineup, so if you want to take a chance on him, I don't think it's a bad idea. Crow really is surprisingly that bad against righties. That's just wonderful. Wonderful to know, isn't it? A lot of people aren't going to go that deep and let you know that. Coincidentally, Vince Velasquez is just terrible against everyone, but really against lefties. So let's move on. Game 3. Oh, hello, Zippy. Sorry, my puppy's here. Come here. Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, boy. Oh, look at this little puppy. Who's a good boy? Oh, who's a good boy? Who's a little puppers? Okay, so let's go. The next game on DraftKings is KC and Toronto. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is how Daniel Lynch pitched last time, which is he threw 8 innings against Detroit, giving up 5 hits, no runs, no walks, only 4 strikeouts. And therein is part of the big problem. He doesn't have a lot of strikeout upside, but he still got you 27 DKP by throwing 95 pitches in 8 innings. And that's, needless to say, I would bet on that being an aberration. Lynch is not that good a pitcher. On top of that, he's a relatively weak lefty. And if you look at the Toronto lineup, which is confirmed, it is really, really bad for left-handed pitchers. They are actually fielding nothing but righties. And that translates into a lot of pain for any lefty that's going to be going against Toronto. I would consider them easily one of the best lefty mashing lineups out there. I don't know anyone who I would say tops them in that regard. There are some people that mash lefties, don't get me wrong. But again, I think I pointed this out a couple of days ago. Springer to Guerrero to Semien to Bo Bichette to Teoscar Hernandez to Gurriel is at the top 6, and that's already insane. And then they have Randall Grichuk, who's not fantastic, but is by no means an easy out or a walk in the park. Dude shows some power, dude gets hot, dude crushes home runs. He's not someone that you can just poo-poo off. 4,800, not a lot of people are going to pay for him either. But the Blue Jays are projected to have the highest total amount of points according to my projections. They are projected to have the highest total runs according to Vegas. They're the only team over 6 today at 6.1. So you really, really can't go wrong here unless you are trying to be clever and get around the field. But as I've explained many times, I have an interesting and very odd philosophy when it comes to this kind of stuff. Oh, thank you, James. I really appreciate that. My Discord is a source of pride because it's one of the nicest places on the internet. I really believe that. What was I saying? Oh, I totally forgot what I was saying. Oh, that's crazy. And I'm not even on my pain medicine. I remember what I was going to say. Let's check, though. I want to check this out and see if I can get this going. So here we go. Let's see. Does that come up? Can you see what that says? Oh, it's backwards. 35 hours, 29 minutes, 32 seconds. I was taking maximum amount of Vicodin, and that's the timer I use to let me know when my 4 hours is up and I was allowed to take more. And since I had the surgery, I keep the timer going to see how long I can get in between. And this is the second time in the last 4 or 5 days that I've gotten over 35 hours. I got to 39 hours a few days ago. I'm at 35 hours now without even taking ibuprofen, much less the non-opiate painkiller. So, I mean, the surgery worked, and that's just absolutely fantastic. I still can't believe it. Anyway, let's get back to it. What I was going to say is there's a lot of people who will give you bad advice. And it's not intentional, right? To them, it makes sense. To them, it might have yielded results, but it's just like any commercial that you see of someone winning something, where on the bottom it says, when they have commercials for people who sue for traffic injuries and come on and say, I won $2.5 million. And at the bottom, there's big letters saying, this is a unique instance and you shouldn't expect anything. That's kind of how I feel about people giving a lot of advice when it comes to DFS. Some of it's great. Some of it is like 5 years ago. Like, it was stuff that would win 5 years ago before people got smarter and sharper, before the field itself changed. One of those things, I think, and if you don't mind me going off on a tangent here, is lineup construction for GPPs, right? Now, don't get me wrong, you can't just lock in the chalk every day. You have to be smart and make smart decisions. If there are two players with around the same price who are projected to get around the same amount of fantasy points and have, equally good matchups, and one of them is 25% owned and one of them is 5% owned, it makes sense to go with the guy who's 5% owned, because when everything is about equal, you want to take that advantage over the field. You want to take the guy, who, if he does get you 25 or 30 points, it might put you in the money without any sort of question, right? But if you have a guy who's projected to get 15 DKP at 20 points, or at 20% ownership, and you have a guy who's projected to get 8 DKP at 5% ownership, then it doesn't line up, right? Then I want the guy who's going to get the 15 DKP, even if he's more owned, because, and this is something a lot of people don't say, you win tournaments by having the highest score. It seems like the most obvious thing in the world, but that's the thing you have to remember. You don't get bonus points for being unique. You don't get bonus points for playing weird dudes. You don't get bonus points for fading chalk. What you get is money for playing the best people that day. And if the best people are chalk and you can find a different way to separate yourself from the field, then that's what you should do. What you shouldn't do is reflexively, as a knee-jerk reaction, say, oh, this person or this stack is chalk, I need to get off of them. Because in the long run, the only thing you're going to do is cost yourself money. Because, and again, this is something I've said for the last couple of years now, I would rather have a non-unique lineup that ties for first and still gets me thousands of dollars than a completely unique lineup that comes in 500th and gets me $30, right? To me, those things aren't even close. I would much rather play the best lineup I can, using ownership as a consideration, not the end-all be-all, and then try to maximize my points. And especially as someone who only plays one lineup a day, for the most part, I think that's going to be the smartest. Hey, Cedric, long time. How you been? I'm feeling so much better. I can't even tell you. So to me, when you look at Toronto today and you see the matchup, you see the fact that they're back home in Toronto for the first time, where I bet people are going to go crazy because they're going to be so happy to be back, so happy to be back in their homes, so happy to see the fans. However many fans are allowed, I'm not actually sure how many fans Canada's letting in the ballpark. But regardless, the home atmosphere in and of itself, I think, is going to actually make a difference. And the fact that they're going against who could be the worst pitcher of the day without much strikeout upside, who gives up a bunch of hits. He has a 12.9 hits per 9 this year, which is ridiculous. His whip on the season, Lynch, is 1.75. So even though he's good at keeping the ball down, it doesn't really matter because one, again, it's the Blue Jays and they can hit home runs off of anybody. But two, he'll just keep giving up hits. And then when they get rid of Lynch, they get to go against the Kansas City Royals bullpen, who are right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the 8th worst bullpen in baseball, giving up a 4.68 ERA, a bunch of home runs, a very high whip. It's a bonanza for the Blue Jays today. I can understand you not being able to afford them because they are incredibly expensive. But I think you will if you keep listening to what I have to say for the rest of the slate. On Toronto's side, Ross Stripling is pitching. His price has finally come back down to, a less insane level. I don't know if you remember how angry I was a few starts ago when he was 9,100. He put up 6.7 DKP in that start, and then he only went down to 8,500. And he put up minus 14.9 DKP, which is crazy. And my son's here. What's up, buddy? I'm doing a video for people to help them out. Can I help you with something?
No, I just heard you doing something.
Oh, okay. Why don't you keep going to play, okay? If you're really good, I'll give you a special treat later. We'll talk about the iPad. Yeah, okay? But you got to let me finish my video.
I would like to stay here, though.
No, buddy, because I got to do my video. All right? Please go ahead and keep watching TV with Mom.
So long, people.
I love you, kiddo.
Love you. Tell me if they laugh and they think it's my YJ.
Okay, I'll let you know later, okay? I'm sure everyone's going to say hi to you, okay? So, Ross Stripling, again, not a good pitcher. I do not like him whatsoever. I don't know why that's not gone off. That should have gone off. Let me check something here. The Kansas City lineup didn't update, and it should have. Or it should have at least said that it was confirmed instead of projected, because I did get a thing on my phone that said it was, yeah, that's different too. So, yeah, it must be not automatically updating while I'm doing the live streaming, which makes sense. I am taking up a lot of the internet. There we go. Okay, it helps if I see what's going on. Okay, Cubs and Nats still haven't released their lineup. And I am correct with Pittsburgh, Gamel, Reynolds, Polanco, and Rodolfo Castro are the lefties who will be going against Vince Velasquez, just to give you an update. So the thing about Ross Stripling, as I've noted the last couple of times he's pitched, is he shows extreme reverse splits, just like Will Crow. He's a righty that's much, much worse against right-handed batters, which isn't actually going to do that well for him tonight, but it could be a lot worse. Kansas City is going to have Santana, Benintendi, O'Hearn, Dyson, and Lopez batting from the left-hand side, which means they'll have Whit Merrifield, Sal Perez, Michael Taylor, and Hunter Dozier batting from the right-hand side. Whit Merrifield and Salvador Perez, arguably their two best hitters. And the guy I really like here is Hunter Dozier. I've talked about this before. There's like a perfect storm when you get a reverse splits pitcher and a reverse splits hitter. The reverse splits hitter always does a lot better than you'd expect. And today you have the extreme reverse splits. Ross Stripling going against the reverse splits Hunter Dozier, who's a righty who mashes righties. So, the Kansas City Royals lineup is only projected to get 4 runs. They're not in Buffalo anymore, so this isn't like a stack anytime Toronto is home sort of deal like it used to be. But if you want to go with a stack of a Merrifield, Perez, Dozier, like a mini stack, I love it. If you want to play Dozier as a one-off, as a third baseman who's only 2,900, also love it. Anytime. Yeah, he loves that Santa shirt. Anytime he cleans it. Anytime we clean it, it's one of the first things he pulls out and wears. I'm like, dude, it's not Christmas. He just gets so happy. It starts humming Christmas songs. He's a funny little dude. I will let him all know that you said hi to him. That'll make him very excited. All right. I need a sip of my water. It looks like Gatorade, but I just keep the water in a Gatorade bottle. That way, if I knock it out, or knock it off the table, or the cat does, there's a cap on it instead of a cup, which I spill constantly. All right, let's look at game number 4 for the day. Oh boy, 20 minutes already. Today we have the Red Sox at the Rays. Martin Perez against Josh Fleming. Martin Perez, not that good a pitcher, very mediocre. Josh Fleming, not that good a pitcher, really good to stack against, especially when the Red Sox beat the hell out of left-handed pitchers. Not again like the Blue Jays, maybe, but I mean, hot damn, those guys can hit some lefty pitching. So here, this one's pretty easy. Martin Perez, I would say, if he were cheap, I would call him a GPP play today, just because the Tampa Bay matchup where they strike out over 10 times a game as a team pretty much makes almost anyone who can get strikeouts a GPP play. Perez doesn't have tremendous strikeout upside or much strikeout upside, but against Tampa Bay, if he was cheap, it'd be worth the risk. He's 8,200. He has not been pitching like an 8,200 pitcher. So that's going to be one of the thanks, but no thanks, guys. I am not playing Martin Perez today. Don't want to stack against him because he is a crafty old pitcher who's good at getting people out. I wouldn't mind if you stacked against him. I'm not going to stack against him. So forget about him. I don't want to play him or the Rays. And on the other side, Josh Fleming, I always talk about all the advanced stats and everything. I give you pretty much a pretty good picture of how everything looks. Over the last 30 days, which is something I always tell you about, Josh Fleming's K9 is 3.3 worst on the slate. Worst on the slate. His walks per 9 is 3.3. Not the worst on the slate, almost the worst on the slate. His home runs per 9, 2.5. That's like third or fourth worst on the slate. His batting average against is 304. That is the third worst on the slate. His whip is 1.64. That is the fourth worst on the slate. His ERA is 8.18, third worst on the slate. FIP 7.07, fourth worst on the slate. And his XFIP is 6.12, which is the worst on the slate. Fleming, not a good pitcher. Very weak lefty. He's going against a Red Sox team that has some dudes in there that just destroy lefties. Kike Hernandez has been fantastic this season against him. Hey, Richard, long time. How you been? Well, I do the breakdowns now. I just do it with writing. I prefer to write. It's a lot easier. And then I don't have, my son. Generally this time, my wife goes to work normally at like 4:30. And then it's me hanging out with my son. I make him dinner, family time. So I try to do my writing overnight. I've been waking up really early because the incision pain's making it tough to sleep. I keep waking up, laying on it, and that's just very unpleasant. So, I've been writing while I'm up and everyone else is asleep, and it's just a lot easier that way. But I'm still doing analysis. Check it out. If you follow me on the Twitters or the Discord or the Reddit, I post links anytime I write something. But anyway, to get back to it, Kike Hernandez has been fantastic. Bogarts, he just got a day off because he's been so bad. Generally speaking, I'm not going to take that risk on a $4,800 player. You can if you want, if you're doing a full stack. He's certainly got the upside, but he really has been about as cold as anybody in baseball over the last week plus, probably since the All-Star game, almost 2 weeks now. His OPS over the last week is 422 with a 0 ISO, which means he's getting no extra base hits. His WOBA is 187. It's just, he's been that bad. So again, I understand passing him up, but JD Martinez destroys lefties. Hunter Renfroe destroys lefties. Christian Vasquez destroys lefties. They have 4 guys in the top 6 that have been fantastic against lefties. The one thing that does give me cause for concern is, one of the only people who've been worse than Bogarts on the Red Sox over the last week is JD Martinez. He has a 354 OPS over the last week with a 200 slugging percentage. 157 WOBA. Yuck. This lefty could be the cure for his ails, though, and I will always bet on JD Martinez going against a lefty. All right, that was an easier game. Let's see if anybody's asking anything else. Yeah, seriously. Betting in PA is a lot of fun. Oh, of course, Andreas. It's my pleasure. I do this for the love, and I greatly appreciate anybody who offers their thanks. It really does mean a lot to me. And like I said, when I was going through the disability really badly, it's people like you who take the time to say thank you and say kind words that give me a lot of strength and help me keep going on some of those really tough nights. So thank you, really, for taking the time to even come and say that. You didn't have to. It's really very kind of you, especially on the internet when, people aren't always going out of their way to be kind. So again, it's not lost on me. I really do appreciate it. All right, next up, we got the Yankees and the Marlins. Excuse me. Do they have Gallo? They have Gallo on the lineup. This got interesting, didn't it? They got Rizzo in the lineup too. Holy Nikes. Oh my God. Gleyber Torres leading off. DJ LeMahieu is getting the day off. Gleyber Torres, Joey Gallo, Aaron Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, Sanchez are the first six in that lineup. Dear God, that's ridiculous. Wow. So let's talk about this game. That's going to be fun, isn't it? Jameson Taillon has been very hit or miss this season. You can look at the DKP. If you get his DKP, it paints the picture very well for you. Look at the last starts that he's had: 21.6, 18.4, 13.9, 32.8, but that was against Seattle. 8, 23.5, 12.9, negative 10.9, 7.8, 10.5. He's prone to get you 10 points to 15 points a majority of the time. The thing that he has going for him is he seems to be doing a lot better against bad lineups. And that seems like something that you would say, well, duh. But there's a lot of people who pitch down to the level of the competition who you can't count on against really easy teams. Taillon does not seem to be one of those guys. So the issue here is he's 8,700. I think that's just too much. There are going to be people significantly cheaper than him who are going to outscore him, I would believe, today. But he's in Miami against Miami. And that's pretty much two of the best things that you could have, even with Jazz. Oh, I don't know if Jazz Chisholm supposed to be back today. I have him in my projected lineup. He might not be back today. Give me a second. It says he's on the IL. Friday. They're talking about reinstating Jazz Chisholm today without any sort of rehab stint, just going right back to the bigs. So let's see if Miami actually goes through with that, because that's a good bat against righties. So that would make it worse for Taillon than it would be if Jazz Chisholm isn't playing. But again, Taillon is someone I would consider a thanks to no thanks today just on price alone, but that's for me as a single lineup player. If you're playing multiple lineups, I would think it's crazy not to have a respectable amount of Taillon ownership. I would expect him to be chalky tonight. given the way pitching looks at the top of the slate. But I don't think he's necessarily a lock to get anything. And I think when you consider that ownership, look at his 7.1 strikeouts per nine over the last month. That's not great. It'll be boosted by Miami because they strike out all the time. But again, even still, he's someone who you can play pretty much with some confidence, but I just think the 8,700 is a little too much to ask, and he's going to be outpaced today. But, even if you're playing 3 lineups, I would say 3+ lineups. I would very strongly consider having Tyone play in today. On the other side is Zach Thompson, who I absolutely love as a pitcher, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to play him in this matchup. He started out incredibly well, and he has not been doing that well lately. His last 3 starts, 7.1 DKP, 10.6 DKP, 15.9 DKP. For 8,400, that's just not worth it. He was doing well with strikeouts, but over the last month, as you can tell by the DKP he's getting, he has a 6.6 strikeouts per 9. Add on to that, he's going against this Yankees lineup that is going to just beat the hell out of lefties. And I have someone who, I don't know if I'm stacking against him, but I'm not playing him today. One of the criticisms I had about the Joey Gallo trade, which a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but several people got into arguments with me about on Twitter the other night. I thought this was a bad trade for the Yankees in a vacuum. If they had done other things, I would have liked it more. Getting Rizzo's a nice move. I like that to complement the Gallo trade. But Gallo, the one thing the Yankees have is people who hit lefties and strike out. And that's what Gallo does. I mean, he's a great defensively. He's been betting better and better on the base paths and defensively every year. And credit to him, he works his ass off. And it shows. But Gallo shows extreme reverse splits, meaning he's a lefty that's better against left-handed pitching. So they got someone who's basically just an Aaron Judge clone who hits from the other side of the plate but gives you the same sort of numbers against left-handed and right-handed pitching. He's not a panacea for the Yankees' troubles against lefties or against righties. Excuse me. Geez, I am all out of sorts today. So now that the Yankees are going against a lefty, I really do love Gallo today. A lefty against a lefty, while he's stronger against lefties, with that short porch in Yankee Stadium is beautiful. So yeah, I have no problem taking a Yankees stack. Stanton is viable anytime the Yankees are going against a lefty, and Gallo might start his Yankee career off with a bang today. All right, next game is Cincinnati and the Mets. Now, the interesting thing here is not only the black jerseys, which I'm excited about. It's Carlos Carrasco. Yeah. So Carlos Carrasco's 8,300. He is not fully stretched out. He is only going to get you about 4 innings today. So he is an absolutely cannot play. And then the way the Mets bullpen has been lately, you can't really stack against him unless you think the Reds will be able to do all of their damage in 4 innings. I don't think they will. Excuse me again. Going against the Mets, that was an easy one, is Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray is 9,200 for some reason. I don't know. Sonny Gray, whose last start, he got minus 7.9. In the start before that, he got 5.3 DKP. He gave up 8 runs in his last start and 5 in the start before that, which means in his last 8 innings pitched, he's given up 13 earned runs. Like, I get he has strikeout upside, but this is a dude who's just not pitching that well this year to justify a price tag of over 9,000, especially against a Mets team that has been hitting well and does especially well against righties. I mean, they have Nimmo, McNeil, Dom Smith, Conforto, VR, and Guillorme all hitting from the left side of the plate today, all of whom are really good at hitting righties, especially a righty who gives up hits, gives up walks, gives up home runs, is just not consistent enough. If he were a $7,500 play, I wouldn't mind Sonny Gray today, but at 92, I think that's just crazy. I think the Yankees gave up less than I thought they would have to get Gallo. 4 like good but not amazing prospects, and keeping, I think, what was it, the top 5 or 6 of their favorite prospects is something I'm really surprised about. The Yankees, in terms of what they gave up, they did very well in that trade. My only criticism of the trade is that, the Yankees didn't need another someone like Gallo. They needed someone who can keep rallies going. And this is something I tried to explain.
Yankees.
Thank you, buddy. Okay, please go to watch TV with mommy. I trained him well. But what I was saying, you can win by only hitting home runs, right? But it's significantly harder. What you need, and you've seen this from almost every team that's won World Series, is a fine mix of people who can maintain a rally and people who can hit big home runs. If you have only weak slap rally hitters, you don't do that well. If you have only TTO type home run hitters, you do surprisingly poorly. If you have all of those guys on the same team, that's when you have a championship caliber squad, because they can hit you with anything any given day. If they're going against a dominant ground ball pitcher who doesn't give up home runs, you can get them. If they're just anybody whatsoever. Yeah, the Yankees haul for Rizzo. The Yankees gave up more for Rizzo almost than they did for Gallo, which is crazy. I agree with you, Nicholas. I definitely agree with you. But anyway, that's what I think about that. Let's keep going, because you can tell my voice is already starting to get hoarse. So Sonny Gray, again, the strikeout upside, I love it. The fact that he has a FIP over 4, I don't like. The fact that he has 1.42 whip, I hate it. His hits per 9 of 9.1, his home runs per 9 of 1.4. Again, 7,500, I don't mind taking a chance on the strikeout upside. I'm not doing that for 9,200. That's just absolutely bonkers. The Mets strike out the 9th least as a team. It's not like he's going against the Rays where he's going to get a bunch of strikeouts. The Mets don't strike out as much as you may think, right? Statistically, they strike out 8.5 times a game. Tampa Bay is 10.05. They're working their way down, and I wouldn't be surprised if they keep getting better with that. No, I would, because Javi Baez just became a Met. They're going to start striking out significantly more now that Javi Baez is a Met. I should consider that before I finish my sentence. Now that I've thought about the whole situation, they were very good at not getting strikeouts. Starting tomorrow, when Javi Baez enters the lineup, maybe not so much. Regardless, I don't like this matchup for Sonny Gray. I don't like his recent form. I don't like how many walks and hits and home runs he's given up. It's just not a good lineup for him, and 9,200 is an absolutely insane price. So I'm going to pass on that as well. Next, Baltimore at Detroit. Here we have Tariq Skubal versus Matt Harvey. This should be a very easy one. Scooble, love him today. 7,500. He had a bad last start before 21.1. Then he had 13.3, 11.9, 28.2, 10.3, 20.7, 13.5, 31.1, 29.9. This is a dude that has upside to get you 20 to 30 DKP. And he's going against and as I explained, not terrible, but weak Baltimore lineup that strikes out a lot. And he should be able to get the better of. He's only 7,500, and he has the upside of some people that are 9,000 today. So Scooble, I really, really like today. Let me see if Baltimore's lineup came out. I want to see what they're playing. I think Baltimore's lineup did come out, and it just didn't refresh. Nope, it did not. Yeah, no. Give me Scooble today. I know Mancini hits lefties hard, but Michael Franco hits lefties hard. I'm not worried about, Urias and McKenna. I'm not worried about a cold Severino or a Pat Valaika. Cedric Mullins, who's way better from the left side. Anthony Santander, who's way better from the left side. It's just a nice matchup for Scooble. I wouldn't say it's a lock or a slam dunk, but I really do like him a lot today, especially for the 7,500 price point. On the other side is Matt Harvey. I don't know if I have to say much more than stack Detroit. They just showed you they can put up 17 runs in a game without hitting a home run, and they're going against a guy who has been pitching terribly but getting incredibly lucky about it. Matt Harvey not giving up a home run in a month is shocking. Him only walking 1.8 in the last month is shocking. He's batting second, Santander fifth. Yeah, I'm not worried about the Baltimore lineup that just came out. Matt Harvey's not striking people out. I know he's relying on the sinker, so it's going to be harder to hit home runs. But like I just said, they just scored 17 runs without hitting a home run. So it doesn't really matter if Matt Harvey's not giving up home runs. Detroit is good at stringing hits together. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it. Long time no see. Hope you've been well. That's very funny. With Matt Harvey's inability to get any lefties out, Akil Baddoo, Robbie Grossman, Harold Castro looks really, really good today. You have Candelario and Willie Castro, who are both switch hitters that are better from the right side, but not terrible as lefties. So right there, you already have 5 lefty bats that you can use against him, and that just sounds good to me. None of them are that expensive. The only guy at 5,000 is Eric Haas at 5,000 proper. And he doesn't light up as well as lefties. Excuse me. Oh, boy, I'm getting tired. All right, next game. We are looking at Milwaukee and Atlanta. This is one where I would bet the under in Vegas. I really like the pitching here on both sides. Let's start with Corbin Burnes. As I've said before, he is an ace, and you can play him anytime he pitches. Not much needs to be said about him. It doesn't matter who's going against him. Dude is amazing. If you look at the BR rating, he is one of only a couple of pitchers that have a perfect 10. That means that not only is he pitching well, but all of the advanced stats behind the scene back that up to the nth degree. Over the last month, 10.2 strikeouts per 9, 1.3 walks per 9, 0.3 home runs per 9, a 192 batting average against, a 0.84 whip, 0.99 ERA, 1.80 FIP. This dude is one of the best pitchers in the game. 10,200 might be a little too cheap for him. I wouldn't object to playing him at 11,000. So if you are playing an expensive pitcher today, Corbin Burnes is going to be one of your best options anytime he pitches, even against Atlanta. Atlanta's only projected to get 3.9 runs today. If they get that, I would be surprised if half those runs don't come against the bullpen. He's going against Touki Toussaint. I assume that's how that's pronounced. I've never heard anyone say it before, but it looks like it's pronounced Touki Toussaint. Very French. He is 6,900, and that makes him my favorite play of the day. I told you 2 starts ago on his first start, play Toussaint. His strikeout upside is insane. He's a very, very good pitcher. He got you 23.4 DKP. His last start against Philly in Philly, I told you Toussaint was the value of the day, that he has a tremendous strikeout upside, and you have to play him. He was 5,900. He got you 30.8 DKP, striking out 10 in 7 innings. I absolutely adore playing Toussaint today. I am not worried about Colton Wong. I'm not worried about Rowdy Tellez, even though he's been relatively hot. I'm not worried about Avisail Garcia. I'm not worried about Tyrone Taylor. I'm not worried about Jackie Bradley. Toussaint should be able to push for another double-digit strikeout game. I would not be surprised if he's one of the highest-scoring pitchers on the slate, not best values, highest-scoring pitchers on the slate, period, at 6,900. Absolutely. If you are playing multiple lineups, go over the field on Touki Toussaint. Absolutely love him today. He can get blown up. He's still a kid. His stuff might not be there. He could be incredibly wild. Y'all know how it goes, especially when kids get called up to the bigs, how spotty that first year can be. But give me all the Toussaint today. Next game, Seattle. Oh, boy. Again, I'm so sorry. I'm very tired. I've been up since like 2 in the morning. It's been like I said, it's been tough to sleep. Next game, Seattle versus Texas. Seattle's been okay lately. I still consider them one of the worst offenses in baseball, but, they've been putting up some runs. Texas has been getting worse offensively. I mean, now with Gallo gone, especially, Texas should be probably considered the worst offense in baseball. And Logan Gilbert has shown you some tremendous upside. Apart from the last start where he lost his control and still wound up getting you 5 strikeouts in 2.2 innings. His last couple starts, 25.2, 34.6 DKP. Over the last month, his strikeouts per 9 is 12.2, which is the highest of any pitcher going today. His walks per 9 of 2.2 is not terrible at all. Let's see, Mets lineups, exactly what I had, except Nito's playing instead of McCann. He has not allowed a home run. Logan Gilbert has not allowed a home run this month. 0.97 whip, 197 average. His FIP is 1.61. That is the lowest on the day of any pitcher going, including Corbin Burns. If you are playing a Logan Gilbert, Touki Toussaint lineup, I think you are playing a very good lineup. I have no problem punting both pitchers and playing those 2 cheap guys because they have the upside and the talent and the matchup to do whatever they want today. So give me Logan Gilbert, give me Touki Toussaint. I expect them both to be fighting for highest scoring pitcher on the day. On the other side is Colby Allard or Ayard. I assume it's Allard because his face looks like a lard face. Take that, person I've never met. Over his last 3 starts, he's gotten 0.2, negative 0.8, and 8.5 DKP. Like I said, Seattle isn't a great offense, but they got some bats, and I wouldn't write them off, especially the top of that lineup. So, against a really bad lefty, I wouldn't mind taking a Mitch Haniger, Ty France, Luis Torrens, Tom Murphy 4 to start it, and then you can add a Seager if you want, or a J.P. Crawford leading off. Haniger especially really mashes lefties, so I'm a big fan of a Seattle stack today. I wouldn't put them above Pittsburgh. I wouldn't put them above Toronto, but Allard is definitely one of the worst pitchers going today. All right. Let's see. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Next game, Cleveland and the White Sox. Cleveland, like Texas, like who was it? Chicago, has nobody left. They have Jose Ramirez, who's meh. Bradley Zimmer leading off for Cleveland at 2,100. Meh. So here you have Lance Lynn, who I think is overpriced at 10,300. He gets you that the mid-20s enough that I don't mind it, but I'd rather take Corbin Burns for 100 cheaper. I'd rather take Touki Toussaint or Logan Gilbert than Lance Lynn, but you cannot go wrong with the matchup against a Cleveland team that just looks like a completely different team. They got everybody. I'm not scared of, Ahmed Rosario batting second, or Bradley Zimmer leading off, or Roberto Perez catching, or Yu Ching. What is it? Is it you? What is it? I think it's Yu Ching. Is it Yu Ching? That can't be right. Cheng? Let me look it up. He used to go by his middle name, but I guess he doesn't anymore. Now it's just Yu Cheng. I guess it is. What was it? Oh, well. I can't remember. I think it was Chieng. U-C, whatever. Shang? I'm so bad with pronunciation of names. Anyway, the point is, he's batting 8th and he's terrible. Ernie Clement is batting 9th and he's terrible. Or Clement. Again, I'm terrible with names. Why did he change? Whatever. I had to set up my whole projections to get him not Yu Chang because he was going with his hyphenated thing. Whatever. No, never mind. I'm just going to keep what I was doing. Anyway, the point being, again, to keep going, Lance Lynn, great spot. I think he's going to be over-owned, but you can't really complain about the matchup. Cleveland's not going to score runs. Lance Lynn will get a bunch of strikeouts. You really can't go wrong there today. If you have a Lance Lynn, Corbin Burns lineup, you'll probably put up a whole bunch of points and do really, really well. So I definitely like both of those pitchers. I would just rather go with those cheap guys and then spend up on bats because I think you have relatively similar upside and you can save, $3,000 on both Logan Gilbert and Touki Toussaint. So yeah, give me those guys in the Toronto Blue Jays over Lynn and Burns. But if you're playing 3 lineups, get him in there, get Burns in there. If you're playing 1 lineup and you want to be safer and not take a GP, you're playing cash, for example, Lynn and Burns are fantastic options today. All right. So I really want to know what his middle name was. It bothers me so much that I can't remember it. It really bothers me that I can't remember it. On the other side of the game is J.C. Mejia. You might remember him as one of the worst pitchers in baseball that I talked about. He has a 3.7 home runs per 9 over the last month. His batting average against is 307, a 1.82 whip, 11.12 ERA, 8.04 FIP. Oh boy, he is so bad. White Sox are easily one of the best stacks of the day. I know Anderson and Abreu are cold/injured. Well, I guess Abreu was injured. Anderson was given a normal day of rest yesterday. But, Cesar Hernandez is in the lineup. 3,500 batting in between those guys. Looks great today. Gavin Sheets, lefty bat. Yohan Moncada is significantly better as a lefty. There's a lot of bats I really like in this White Sox lineup. And if you want to go with them as one of your main stacks tonight, I very strongly recommend it. Mejia really is that bad a pitcher. All right, moving on. Speaking of really bad pitchers, we have Wade LeBlanc going for the St. Louis Cardinals, and we have Griffin Jax going for the Minnesota Twins. I am taking all of the bats in this game. This is not a difficult decision. They are both absolutely horrible pitchers, and I would very gladly take the over 9 in Vegas today. The fact that it's a 4.9 to 4.1 projected, or 4.8 to 4.2, it's right on the line. I think that's ridiculous. It's not like these guys traded away all of their lineups, and it's not like either of these pitchers are good. So you have Wade LeBlanc, who's a really bad lefty. Wow. Stevenson is leading off for Washington. That's not great for them. LeBlanc is a weak lefty. He's got Rooker, who's been hitting well, Donaldson, Garver, Sano. He's got some bats that can really punish him. Even Polanco was a switch hitter, even though he's much better from the left-hand side. Excuse me. And they're going against Griffin Jax, who's a righty, but the good thing about the Cardinals is they have Tyler O'Neill and Paul DeJong, who are both righties with extreme reverse splits, meaning they're both better against righties. And then you have Dylan Carson, who's a lefty, who should be able to get the better of him. I don't like the Cardinals as much as I like Minnesota. I don't like the Cardinals as much as I like a lot of other teams today, but they're certainly a more than viable stack. I don't expect much from Griffin Jax, Wade LeBlanc, or either of the pitching staffs today for both of those teams. Up next is Oakland Angels. Chris Bassett is 9,600. 8.9 K9 over the last, or strikeouts per 9 over the last month. 1.8 home runs per 9. A 4.44 FIP. He's someone, again, that's overpriced. 9,600 against a really good Angels lineup. Again, they're not the best. Don't get me wrong, especially with Trout not in yet and Rendon out. But Fletcher, Ohtani, Stassi have been really, really hot lately. Goslin is not a bad hitter. Upton is not worth it. Brandon Marsh is a rookie with a lot of talent who's been, figuring things out. Jack Mayfield's been on a tear the last week. Chris Bassett, for me, I would categorize him as a GPP play today because of the price. But there's no way. There's no way I wouldn't just pay $600 more and go with Corbin Burns instead of Chris Bassett. There's just no reason to do that. I would expect, again, Tucson and Gilbert to outscore Bassett, and you can save, more than $2,000 on either one of those guys over Bassett. He's going against Patrick Sandoval, not Pablo Sandoval, if you see the P. Sandoval. I told you to give him a play last game at 7,300 as a value play. I said he was also one of the best value plays on the slate. He got you 45.1 DKP at 7,300, getting 13 strikeouts and 8.2 innings against the Twins. Today he gets a much harder Oakland A's team that has Canha and Marte that can hit lefties really, really hard. Laureano is not bad against lefties. Sean Murphy, Matt Chapman, none of those guys are bad against lefties. I would say Patrick Sandoval would be a GPP play for me, just on the strikeout upside. Of the 11.4 strikeouts per 9 over the last month is amazing. 0.7 home runs per 9, 156 average against, a 0.87 whip with a 2.93 ERA, 2.76 FIP. Sandoval has looked like an ace. So you could see the 8,800 and think that's a discount, and I wouldn't necessarily blame you for that. But I still think that Oakland is a dangerous lineup. He's projected to lose this game, and the price is just a little bit too high for what I'd like for him. I don't mind him at 7,300 was too cheap, but that doesn't mean I think he should have been 9K. I understand it after a 45 DKP start, but even still, I like him. I don't love him today. I would put him in the not quite an ace or almost an ace tier if you're going by how I write my articles. Next up is the Dodgers versus the D-backs. Here we have Zach Gallen versus Tony Gonsolin. That's fun to say. Zach Gallen is $9,500. He had -1 DKP against a Cubs team that was already cold his last start out. 2 starts before that, he had -0.3. The start before that, he had 7.1. And now he's going against what is arguably the best offense in the game. Almost certainly be the best offense in the game when Trey Turner comes to town. Zach Gallen at 9,500 is one of the dumbest things I've probably ever seen in my life. For a guy with like a nearly 5 ERA in the season, he walks 6.2 people per 9, 2.3 home runs per 9. I don't think it's crazy to say that the Dodgers are one of my favorite stacks today, and Gallen is one of my least favorite pitchers. And I would say that if he were like 6,500, all right, he's 9,500. If Gallen were 6,500, I would not play him as a GPP play. I would not consider him if I were doing a significant amount of lineups as anything but a filler. And he's 9,500. That's stupid, especially against the Dodgers. That's just, it doesn't make any sense. You can see when I talk about these things and I type out that like I'm angry about this, I'm not kidding. I'm actually angry at how absolutely fucking stupid $500 for Zach Gallen. $9,500 against LA. You're supposed to get a discount when you're going against good teams, and your price is supposed to go up when you're going against bad teams. You're not supposed to have your highest price point on the season when you're going against the Dodgers, and you have 2 of your last 3 starts were negative. What? It's just inexcusably stupid. So, stack the Dodgers today, because I would be surprised if they're not slightly underowned given Gallen's price and Gallen's price alone. I'm talking here about DraftKings. On FanDuel, Gallen is 7,200, which is a lot smarter. Way to go, FanDuel. And again, that's shocking because the Dodgers have one of the highest projected run totals of the day at 5.3. It just, the whole thing doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I would very gladly stack LA. I have no interest. I have less than no interest in Gallen. At 9,500, I'm just angry and insulted. Gonsolin is got a good matchup, right? I like Gonsolin's matchup, but he's not someone I trust or want to play. They won't let him get above 80 pitches, and that severely limits his upside, especially because he's really bad at walking people. And if you have a short leash and you're walking people, you can do the math there. That means it takes you a really long time to get through innings. If you're throwing 20 pitches an inning and you're only throwing 80 pitches total, 80 divided by 20, that's right, Mike Trout. 4. That means he's throwing 4 innings a game, and sometimes that's being generous. So his one good start the last time out hasn't done anything to convince me otherwise. That 4.7 walks per 9 over the last month, that's something that I care about. Again, the price isn't bad. The 5.6 walks per 9 on the season, that's bad. So, he doesn't have a bad matchup, even though he's in one of the best hitters' ballparks. I would say now that they're not playing in Buffalo anymore, Arizona is probably the second best hitters' park in the game. Some people say it's Cincinnati. I wouldn't argue if you think it's Cincinnati, but Colorado's 1. I would say Arizona's 2, and that Cincinnati's 3. So Gonsolin has a good matchup against a really crappy offense. He has decent strikeout upside, but the ballpark isn't that great, and he just doesn't get through outings. If he gets to 5 innings, it's a momentous occasion. So the good thing is his price is starting to come down a little. It was 9,500 like a month ago. Now it's only 7,900. But if we're looking at someone who I can't trust to get into the 5th inning, much less through 5 innings, which I would want from anybody starting. If I can't trust you to get to the 5th inning, you better be 6,000, right? If you're 8,000 and you pitch 4 innings, you're not going to get 3x. You're not going to have that upside. The upside you have is drastically limited by the amount of innings you throw and the amount of pitches you're allowed to throw. So when you have someone who's on a 70 to 80 leash, you better make sure that you're looking at their price and you're looking at their upside. Even though, Diamondbacks bad, Gonsolin not worth that. Still better than Zach Gallen today, though. Let's be clear. That's looking ridiculous. Next up, Houston, San Francisco. A fantastic pitching matchup. It's a fantastic pitching matchup, but as you probably know, Gausman has not been doing well lately. His last start against Pittsburgh again, the team that scores the lowest amount of runs per game in the MLB, that'll change. But as of right now, the team that scores the fewest amount of runs in the MLB per game, he went 4.1 innings and gave up 6 runs, 1 home run, 8 hits, 4 walks, and only 2 strikeouts. He got minus 5.5 DKP. The start before that, against the Dodgers, 8.6 DKP. A couple starts before that, against the Dodgers, 7.9 DKP. The Astros are the only team that score more runs per game than the Dodgers. And he has to take on the Astros today. So you have someone who's 9,400, and because he's been at or around 10,000, he should be popular because people will consider him a discount. But he has been in poor form lately and hasn't been someone you can absolutely lock in against the best of the best lineups. Against Houston especially, that gives me a lot of cause for concern, especially when, you have a 5.3 walks per 9 over the last month, 1.48 whip over the last month, 4.87 to 4.63 ERA and FIP, respectively. I would again rather play Toussaint or Gilbert, or spend an extra less than $1,000 and play Burns or Lynn even. Gausman has GPP upside, so I wouldn't throw him in the fade bin or the thanks but no thanks. But I don't like the recent form, and I really don't like the opponent. He's going against Framber Valdez, who I love. I mean, that he's got such electric stuff. His problem is he doesn't know where the ball's going. So it's really, really hard to trust him. Last start, he went 6 innings without giving up a hit, and his whip was still 1.00. Do you know how you do that? By walking 6 people. He only got 4 strikeouts in that game. 2 games before that, against the Yankees, he went 4 innings and walked 6 people. A couple games before that against Cleveland, he went 7 innings and walked 5 people. This is a dude who can't stop walking people. That is not good. San Francisco scores a lot of runs. They strike out a lot, but Valdez's K9 has not been great lately. 7.9 is not fantastic. And I want to check one more thing. Where is it? And San Francisco walks the 3rd most per game in baseball. When you have someone who can't stop walking people going against a team that can't stop getting walks, you have a perfect storm. I would take Gavin Sheets, Mike Ganistan. Love that name, by the way. That's a very funny name. Give me Gavin Sheets for that question. Yeah, Framber Valdez, again, I think he'll be over-owned. Someone with good upside, but hasn't been striking people out and has been walking everybody. So, yeah, I'm not going to stack the Giants. Valdez, I'd consider a GPP play, but I don't like him either. Again, I'd rather go down to Toussaint or Gilbert or go up to Burns or Lynn. And I don't think enough people are going to do that, unfortunately. And now the final game of the day. We're going to end this 70-minute marathon already. John Gray is pitching for Colorado against the San Diego Padres. John Gray is a pitcher I really like. I really wanted him to go to the Mets, but the Rockies decided that they weren't going to do that, and they were going to, in fact, not do anything and be incredibly stupid. I'm not surprised. But John Gray's a really good pitcher. The problem with John Gray, and this is something I was saying last year, is he is about as pure a GPP pitcher as you will ever see in baseball. You just don't know what you're going to get out of John Gray. It doesn't matter if it's a good or a bad team. It doesn't matter if he's in Colorado or on the road. Nothing matters. He will come out and get you 26 DKP against the Padres like he did 3 starts ago. And then he'll get you 0 DKP. Oh, that doesn't count. And then he'll get you minus 8.4 or 0.6 against Pittsburgh. John Gray can deal when John Gray is on. But until the first pitch, you just don't know what you're going to get with him. And that is against any opponent. It could be the Marlins. It could be the Dodgers. It could be in Colorado or in Miami. John Gray is not someone you can ever trust, but he's someone you can always play in GPPs, even against San Diego, because, again, he is so good, the matchup doesn't matter. His stuff is so good, he can do it at home in Colorado. He went against the Dodgers, the best offense in baseball, 2 starts ago in Colorado, went 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, 21 DKP. John Gay could come out today, go 8 innings, get you 10 strikeouts, be one of the pitchers of the day. He can go out today, give you 2 innings, give up 8 earned runs, minus 10 DKP, and ruin a lineup for you. But that's the choice you take when you play, when you play John Gray. I love him, but God knows he is a GPP play if there ever was a GPP play. There are so many good options tonight. You are 100% right, Joseph. 100% right. Tonight is a wonderful, wonderful night for baseball, especially after that bonkers trade deadline. Ryan Weathers is pitching for San Diego. Just like with Gonsolin, we can't play him. Ryan Weathers. Let's look at this. Let's take a look. We'll walk together through Ryan. I keep wanting to say Ryan Weathers. Ryan Weathers. Ryan Weathers. Why is that so hard to say? Weathers. I can't say Ryan Weathers. Ryan Weathers. Let's go. Let's take a walk together through the Weathers. Last start against Miami. 4 innings, 73 pitches, 13.4 DKP. That's his best one. Spoiler alert, not going to get better than that. 2 innings, 29 pitches the start before that. The start before that, 5.1 innings, 71. Then 4 innings, 83 pitches. 3 innings, 47 pitches. Then a couple of 5-inning starts where he got 81 and 88. It's one of the same story after another. Weathers will throw a game where he pitches 2 innings and gets you 40 pitches, or he'll throw 80 pitches in 4 innings. Either way, as was the case with Gonsolin, he's someone who's throwing far too many pitches because he's having trouble with control, which means every inning he's throwing more pitches than he needs to, which severely limits his upside because he's already being limited. When you have someone who's not throwing a lot of innings and they're doing things to reduce the amount of innings they're able to throw, they're not a good play. So I am not playing Colorado because their offense in the road is the worst, but I'm also not playing Weathers at 6,600. And what I need to do is go in and fix my projections, because my projections have Weathers getting 20 point something DKP, which leads me to believe that I have Weathers going like 6 or 7 innings. Let's see. I have a bunch of stuff built into my projections here. So yeah, that's ridiculous. I had Weathers automated to go 7 innings today just based on matchup and the Vegas total. Now I have him at 4. So his projection went from 20 to 10 just by switching the innings that he was going to pitch, which makes sense because you're not going to expect anything much more than 10 out of Ryan Weathers. Hello, that is why my projections, and I don't say this to be cocky, and I don't say this lightly, my baseball projections are by far the best in the game. I put so much work into them. There is so much information that goes into my projections. I take everything into account: the humidity, the weather, the direction and strength of the wind, the splits of the pitcher, his BR rating and how it ranks against other pitchers, the ballpark, anything that you could think of, I account for in my projections accordingly. You're not going to have someone who puts more work into their numbers or who's as precise or who cares as much. Because quite frankly, I care about as much as anybody that everything I do is as perfect as it can be. I don't want anybody to ever say, hey, you didn't try as hard as you can, and I made a really bad lineup because of you and it cost me money. That's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to help people not ruin their day or give them some half-assed analysis. I'm not getting paid to do this, right? None of you are giving me money, right? This is something I do out of the goodness. Well, I don't want to say goodness on my heart because that sounds cliche and shitty. This is something I do because I want to help people, because I know what my abilities are. I know where my strengths are. And analysis and communication are 2 of those strengths. And with how much I love sports, especially like baseball and basketball, I know I have a unique ability to pass that information along in a way that other people may not, in a way that you can understand and use to learn for the future. You can take the things I'm saying and soon not read anything from anybody because you know the thought processes behind it. You understand what I'm saying? So there you go. That was an hour and 20 minutes, an hour 25 since I signed on. I hope I did good on the talking analysis instead of the writing analysis. And it's my pleasure. Rooker at 2,100, batting second is a very good play, Brandon. Brandon is right. He might not be the best cheap play, but he's definitely there to be considered, especially given recent form. I didn't check today. Give me a second to check today. Rooker over the last week. Okay? 1 week, one whole week, 27 plate appearances. Not a small sample size, but not insignificant sample size. Let's say that. 348 batting average, 444 on base, 826 slugging percentage, which leads to a 1.271 OPS. His ISO is 478 with a 519 WOBA. Okay? Rooker is significantly better against lefties. He's batting second. He's only 2,100. He's been hot as anything. Big fan of Rooker today. The one other thing and the last thing that I want to mention, Joey Votto, until he cools down, is going to be a good play. If you play a one-off today and that one-off is Joey Votto, I'm fine with that. Carrasco showed in the minors that he could get hit. I don't really love the Reds stack, as I said, because I have faith in Carrasco's abilities. Most of his minor league starts were good, and his stuff has looked pretty electric if you're going by what the beat writers have been saying about him. He's just not going to get a lot of innings. And then the bullpen, I don't trust the Reds against the Mets bullpen, especially the way the Mets bullpen has been pitching. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention the one-off batter of Joey Votto because, as you've seen, he's had like 12 home runs in the last day and a half or something like that. I don't know. Something like that. I might be exaggerating. Who knows? I don't know, maybe. Anyway, the point is, Votto is, until Votto goes a couple days without getting at least a couple doubles, Votto's going to be a really good play. Okay, I think that's about it. I got to an hour and a half. It's more than I wanted to do, but I did it. I'm good at talking, I guess. Hope I helped you all. Love you all, as always. Love you all. Care about you all. You're all worthwhile. I'm there for you if you ever need me. Even if it's just a vent and I don't read it immediately or respond immediately. If you ever got something you don't have anyone to talk to about, you're having a tough time, just send me a DM anywhere. I will read it. I will get back to you. I'm here for you. I genuinely care about how you're doing and your well-being. And I want you to feel respected and loved and cared about because you're a good person trying your best. All right, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow again with the written analysis, I hope. It's going to be tough. I normally have at least a third to a half of the slate done by 6:30 p.m., but I haven't even gotten it started for tomorrow yet. So it'll be a little tough, but I'll try to get it done, get back on schedule. But here we go. Worst comes to worst, I can always do a video. Thank you all for joining me. Really, thank you all. I love you all. Have a wonderful evening. Best of luck. Let's win some money today. Let's hope someone here takes down something. All right. Even if it's not me, I hope it's one of you. You know what? I'd rather it be you than me. Always rooting for you guys. All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. I love you, and I'll see you soon.